Running Sentences presents Against an Angry Ocean. Part 2. The storms arrive. Sailing along the coast is rather easy business. The turn into the ocean, though, brings about the first of many storms that this cargo vessel will face. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunnery. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within the story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and or fictional businesses, characters, events, and etc. is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Hunnery. All rights reserved. Sky sat in his cabin at the desk looking over a tablet that had all the information he could ever want. None of it, though, was interesting, nor did he really have to pay any attention to it. The whole damn ship was automated, but it was better to keep up to date, or so he was told. The last thing he needed was the journey full of the captain yelling at him for not reading the data and reporting on it. His phone line beeped, showing that a call from the outside world was coming in on his tablet, and he tried to put on his best happy face as he accepted the call when he saw who it was from. "Hi, Mom." "How are things, dear?" "Fine, good. We're sailing along the coast still, and will be until about midnight." "Why are you saying fine and good? You only need to say one." "It's just what came out, Mom. There's no great mystery to it." "You're sure?" "Positive. You don't need to think about the world as falling down around us because of some words." "But it is falling down around us, isn't it? With all the weather shifts and transportation problems, things have fallen apart. That's why you're doing this mission, isn't it?" "Yes, that's why I'm on this boat working. But me saying two positive words doesn't mean my own personal world is falling down." "Well, I don't know about that." He shook his head at his mom and sat back in his chair so he could get a better view of her on the tablet. "Mom, we both know that I would call you out for the exact same thing that I am saying, but would stop when you said it was all okay. Can you trust me that it is all okay right now?" "Yes, I suppose so." She was shaking her head now, though, so really didn't sound satisfying. "Great. Was your concern the only reason for giving me this video call?" "Oh, no. I had some news that I thought you needed to know about your father." "Did he do something stupid again?" There was no click from his mother's tongue that came across loud and clear. It said that that type of comment was not appreciated one bit. "No, we found him." Sky did his best to look to the side and figure out exactly what that meant, because it sounded out there. "What do you mean you found him?" "Something has been off about him lately, and we discovered he signed up for one of those weird tests that take a part of you." "I don't think I want to know about this," Sky replied. "But you should know, so that you stay away from these types of things. Anyway, a piece of his mind was taken out so that it could be stored." "Are they claiming that they can clone him off of his normal self or something like that?" Sky found himself asking. "No, or nope. I don't know what the plan was, other than to scam people out of money and get brain particles from them. I don't know. It's very weird." "How much did this cost, and how much do you owe or is owed to you for this fraud?" "Oh, it's a mere $70,000 or so, thanks to whatever money is these days." His stomach felt like it was sinking all the way to the bottom of the boat, and then kept going towards the bottom of the ocean. That much money? This stupid situation was going to cost that much money? That is practically all of my pay for this trip. "You know we wouldn't ask if we didn't need the help," his mother replied. "How How have you survived for this long? Honestly, we haven't really survived. The generation before us took everything and left us with nothing, which means we need to rely on you to help us out. There was a frustrated growl at the back of Sky's throat, but he dare not let it out. I can pay some of it, but not all of it. You'll have to find a way to deal with that until you get repaid for the scam or whatever's going to happen to you. Oh, thank you, dear. I knew we could count on you. Get to it soon, though. And pay us soon. The feed cut out without even a goodbye. With his shift starting soon, Chris had found refuge in the entertainment room of the ship. A fine place filled with games, books, and even a TV getting old reports on the news. He now found himself sitting on a couch watching that TV, since reading right now didn't sound appealing to him and the games required more than one player. Since no one else was around at the moment. And it was with quite a fanfare that the ship, a quiet storm, set off across the ocean. Her job will be to deliver goods to friendly friends across the ocean and seas, a feat that hasn't been accomplished in 10 years, the news reporter announced. If we can even make it, reporter, if we even get close, Chris said. There's a lot of executives who are watching to see how this ship will fare against the ocean. She's been built to survive the tough waves and blasting windstorms that now bracket and consume much of the oceans. There was a loud bing noise that interrupted as Ursula's voice came over the intercom, interrupting this news reporter. It is a new shift. Workers report to your stations for the evening until the afternoon work. Be ready for long hours of watching and doing little. With a grunt, he gets up from the couch and is about to turn off the TV when a news flash hits the screen. It had a large warning sign on it that made him stop dead. There are reports of a deadly storm crossing the oceans and that will soon be upon the coast. Citizens are advised to move to higher ground. Anyone aboard ships, you will have to fight for your lives out there. Getting to the coast is simply not possible for you. The TV cut out with a hiss as the sound of wind began to pick up outside. Chris grunted and moved to get out of there. He would step out into the quiet hallway that only stayed that way for a moment. The ship had shifted, moving to get to a new bearing and head out towards that sea. But that storm the news had talked about was already making lots of noise as he hurried to get to the stairs down to the engine room. The boat had also begun to sway a little bit from side to side as it dealt with the rough waters that chopped against the vessel. His descent took a minute more than he would have liked, but he got there in the end, entering the engine room to find Kaylee. She sat belted down, looking over screens, and glanced over at the noise of the hatchway opening. You made it. Seas are already rough and not far off the coast. Storms are getting worse and closer to the damn continent. Well, this will make for a fun night of sleep. Do you think I'll need a belt to keep myself from rolling out of bed? He shrugged as he came up to the seat next to her and sat down. His hands fumbled to make sure the belt would fit around him and keep him in place. Better safe than sorry. Anything happen? He said in response. No, not a whole lot. I tried talking to the computer about when it would do shut-offs of the engine, but that went nowhere or anywhere. What do you mean? He asked her. It is either not programmed or doesn't know what it should do if the engines are running in the yellow for too long. Did you look over the manuals? I actually had not thought of that, no, but thanks for the idea, Chris. Do that in the next shift, or maybe you can do it. She was now up and out of her chair, swaying with the rhythm of the boat heading for the hatchway out. Anything else I should know before you take your leave to get some sleep? Nope. Have a nice shift. Chris didn't watch her leave, but did hear the clunk of the hatchway shutting firmly. This left him alone, staring at the screens. Computer. Good evening, Chris. What can I do for you? What do you do to pass the time here? Well, I keep track of everything, so that's how I pass the time. The computer quickly responded. I know that, but you probably don't do it all the time there. There has to be some other things that you're doing while you're running as well. The computer blipped a few times to think. Nope, my job is to run the engine, and that is all I care about. Chris hesitated to ask, but since no one else was around, what harm could it do? At least that was his great hope with all of this. He wanted things to be nice, simple, and for the voyage to have some nice comforts to go along with it. So, no games to use these screens up on? Oh, is that what you mean? I can play games, movies, and books for your entertainment, but I cannot participate in those activities. Well, let's start with whatever movie you recommend and keep the other screens busy with information. Not far away, Kaylee paced down the hallway, looking it over, and the cargo tucked away, but visible below the hallway via the windows. There were tons of boxes below, and it was a bit hard to see if they were moving or not. The swells of the ship kept going, though, which made things sway about, making it hard to keep track of what was level and what was swaying about and where she actually stood. Taking your time with your examination, Kaylee? Oh, not necessarily, Captain. She snapped to attention. The waves were throwing off my sense of what is and isn't moving, so I just wanted to make sure that I saw that things were all right. That's fair, and it is hard to tell, Ursula stated. And it is better to be safe than sorry, Captain. True again. Keep it up, engineer, and you'll be paid well. The captain strolled off, looking over things herself, while the boat continued swaying here and there. Kaylee took one more look back to make sure it was all okay, and then began walking towards the cabin section of the boat. The vessel battered its way through the rising and falling waves around it. Things weren't so bad out there at the moment, no more so than the usual storm that crops up out on the ocean. The slightly smaller than cape-size boat was designed well for this kind of situation, but she would still shake and rattle as the winds howled and the waves rose higher and higher heights. The only thing the boat had going for it at the moment was that this wasn't much of a storm to fight against. No rain or thunder and lightning to shock things into a frenzy. It was a short trip to Kaylee's cabin, and she settled onto the little couch as best she could. Things weren't too bad with the way the boat was moving, though it would make getting to sleep a difficult task. Room, computer. Oh, yes, Kaylee? Can you put me through to Sky? He should be in the bridge. One moment, please. Hey, you called, Kaylee? Yes, Sky. I was wondering if the ship's going to be like this all night. Weather reports show it will be rough sailing all around for the next few days. So no real rest? She asked. Unlikely to happen, Kaylee. You might need to use some straps to stay on your bed if you're going to get some sleep. Don't know if I'm going to be able to get some sleep the way we're going. Well, the medical bay is available. I'm sure the computers would love to prescribe you something to help you sleep. That would require me to talk to them about my inner thoughts so that they can figure out if I'm abusing drugs or not. That's the way these computers work. Well, it's up to you. There is the capsule in the medical bay as well that keeps you firmly in place and lets you sleep. I may take you up after that on some thought of it. The computer won't protest my using it, though? I don't think so. It's meant to be a closed-off capsule in case somebody needs to get over seasickness or something. I don't know. Anyway, the sick bay is there for you, so it shouldn't deny you the use of a sleeping chamber. Alright, thanks. The line clicked dead and Kaylee leaned against her couch as a wave rolls over the boat. It wasn't a bad roll, but it did take a few unsecured items and roll them this way, and then that when the boat rolled back. I would not be doing this except for the money. It's too good to pass up. Such a fucked up situation. Unsteadily, she rose from her position and made her way towards the door, only to stop short, catching her grip on a nearby bar. The ship was steadily getting rocked by more and more waves, which was different from the usual of the up-and-down affair that they'd been dealing with. What had distracted her, though, was the red light on her computer, indicating that she had an email that needed to be attended to. Red light meant urgent, didn't it? What or who could be sending me urgent messages already? She decided to wait on the medical bay for the moment as she moved over to her computer, tapping her screen a few times to get to the messages. There were a few not-so-important things, but one glaring with a red mark on it. Kaylee quickly opened it. Dear Kaylee, this is Engineer Dave Doontop from the Engineering Corps. It has come to our attention that your ship will be setting sail with an experimental engine. The military would like to be kept in the loop about how it does. You will be rewarded for all information passed along. Since that was all there was to the email, she carefully read it again, looked over for anything she'd missed. There was no request asking, confirmed that she was going to do this, only the belief that she would email them back. What kind of information were they even after? Kaylee bit at her cheek and then typed out a quick response asking for more information. Couldn't hurt to ask that, right? And to be sure of all the... and just what was going on. Ursula was half asleep while at her computer. In her room, the droves of data crossing her screen kept spewing out and then disappearing. It was all about what the ship was doing in this weather and how it was holding up. All she really had to do was watch the little box on the upper right-hand screen that had 3 lights, red, yellow, and green. Right now, it was all on green, which meant all systems go. Computer, can you shut off for now? You mean for this room, right? Yes, that is what I meant. Wake me up before my shift begins so I can get some food. Of course I can. By the way, would you like a status report on the rest of the crew? You can do that? The ship's computer can. I, as your room computer, cannot. Seems a little invasive if you ask me, she said. We're doing it all the time to make sure that everyone is in good shape. Right now, Sky is yawning, Chris is watching a movie, and Kaylee is moving through the hallway. Why is she doing that? I could not tell you why exactly, but she did have a conversation with Sky and then left her room. Can you tell me where she is headed then? A screen popped up showing footage of Kaylee moving through the hallway near the cargo. She appeared to be moving as quickly as she could as the boat swayed here and there. It appears she is going towards the medical bay, the computer stated. Seasickness? Ursula asked. Judging from her vitals, maybe not a sickness. She seems to want a stable place to sleep, maybe? The computer answered. You're checking our vitals, computer? Yes, of course. We need to make sure that you will keep things running. But you're keeping things running, Ursula protested. Oh, to an extent. We still need you. Ursula found her eyes narrowing towards the screen in front with a little webcam that was hidden in the bevel of the screen. It took a moment to find it and study it for any signs of anything, but it was a little black dot that showed no signs of life, of course. To keep the ship sailing, or just to entertain you while you do all the sailing across this ocean blue? Which is it? I do not have that information, or it is not accessible to me at this moment. Perhaps ask the computer on the bridge. Would you like to see what Kaylee is up to now? She frowned at the computer's answer, but also figured it might be best that she could do at the moment. Sure, and while we're doing it, answer me one more quick question. Of course, if I can. A small box had opened on her screen showing the hallway that Kaylee was walking down now. The engineer was headed straight towards the medical bay, and nothing of interest was going on with her. What I wanted to know is if there is a main computer that controls all of the other computers that operate the ship. I think so. You don't know, computer. Captain, there does not seem to be a clear answer in my systems. That only worried Ursula that much more that something was being hidden from her. There was, however, she realized quite quickly, and even in her tired state, nothing she could do about any of this at the moment. The splash of waves crossing the bow for what felt like the 1000th time in this early morning kept Sky company. He was staring at them from the bridge of the ship, and everything other than that was boring since it was all going smoothly and the computer was doing all of the work. There were a few flashing screens warning of this and that, but they were there one moment and then gone the next. Computer? Hello, Sky. Is there something you need? I keep seeing flashing screens, warning screens. What's going on with them? Nothing to worry about, Sky. But that makes me worry, computer. Explain what's wrong. Technically, nothing is wrong, sir. The screens flash when the balance is lost, and we're losing balance when we crest waves, big and small, in the hole of the water. Thus, when we're in the water again, the ship realizes that it's all okay. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence. I'm sorry to hear that, First Mate. Would you like me to turn off the flashing lights? No, I would get yelled at for that, computer. And besides, I don't think you can turn off those screens and warnings. Oh, well, it wouldn't actually turn them off, but it makes it so you can't see them right away. No, thanks. It would only cause me trouble and problems. How do things look out there? Sky asked to change the subject. Actually, it should be calming down quite a bit. You can even go grab breakfast as the waves are calming down, sir. Are you going to keep me in the loop in case something goes wrong? It is my job to do so, but I can't fail at my job. Sky eyes the rows of monitors before him, looking them over carefully and warily. Nothing felt exactly trustworthy, but getting some food into him sounded great right about now. In a snap decision, he stood up. Chris was staring at the machine making him food as Sky walked in, looking tired from half of a shift. They both spotted each other, and there was a brief pause before they spoke. Did the computer suggest you get breakfast as well? Yes, it did, Chris. Your food is almost ready, Chris. Is there any changes you would like to make before I finish it off? The computer said, burbling to life. No, thank you, computer. How's everything down in the engine room? Sky then asked. Fine, nothing going on, really. I watched 2 movies and nearly fell asleep watching them. Sky, who'd been walking over towards him and from the door, pauses for a second and glances over to him. Really? That doesn't sound good. I mean, I know the ship is taking care of everything, but... I know, we're to stay up and make sure things operate as planned, Sky. But there was nothing to do unless I managed to just stay barely awake. A food tray was suddenly stuffed in front of Chris, bumping into him. Your food, Mr. Chris, and what can I get for you, Mr. Sky? Whatever you want to make, food computer. Just make it taste good. Aye, First Mate. They both stared at the wall where the computer sat. It had a long line taken out of it, right about waist height, and that's where the food came through. Although, when they first originally eaten together, the small robot had come out and given them their food. You don't have to do formalities for me, computer, just for Ursula, sure, not for me. But, First Mate, you're sort of the captain of the ship right now until she wakes up. So, formalities are good, the computer said. Yes, but no. Captain ain't my job. Anyway, Chris, did Kaylee have anything to report? No, she said everything was A-okay. Why? The bridge keeps having flashing warning screens about things that it's quickly turning off. I'm just playing worrywart. So what did the computer say about it? Chris asked. The ship was out of balance, cresting waves, and so it thinks something is wrong, but then once we're back in the water again, everything's okay, and it realizes that, or something like that, Chris. I didn't get any warnings down in the engine room. None? No, it was all quiet, and I did keep an eye on things, although I was sleepy, Sky. You were watching movies. Yeah, but I did do my job and kept my eyes on everything in case of a warning or something that popped up. I wasn't negligent about the ship. This only caused Sky to frown deeply. Right, keep it up, I suppose, and eat quickly. The computer did say it was going to keep an eye on things. Do you not trust it? This caused Sky to look about the room, and specifically at the computer that was still making its food, then turned and shrugged on, which Chris understood. The first mate didn't trust this shit and worried it was going to come back to bite all of them, so Chris just felt like it was understandable. Best for all of us just to keep an eye on things. The door zipped open and in roamed Kaylee, looking tired and out of all of it. Hey, you two. Shouldn't you be getting some rest? I couldn't get any sleep with the way the ship was going, Chris. I tried the medical bay, but it wasn't any better. Do either of you know where I might get a stiff drink to help me out? My room has a bottle of strong stuff hidden in the desk compartment, and we have a couple of boxes of drinks, don't we, Sky? Yep, they should be in the medical bay, though, Sky said. Computer said that I don't look like I need it. That is weird. Kaylee offered a shrug to Chris. Do you mind if I go to your room and find this drink? No, but if you'll wait just a moment, I can go with you and it will be easier that way. Are you hiding porn or something? She teased Chris. No, I didn't think to bring any aboard, sadly. Do you mind if I do this first, mate? Do what you have to, but make it quick, Chris. I don't feel safe aboard this ship, and I worry at any moment that something might break. On the bright side for you, Miss Kaylee, the computer did say that we are arriving at a calm spot in the ocean, so there might not be as much rolling about. By the time Chris led Kaylee to his room, it had become late morning. The rocking of the boat had subsided a bit, a whole lot in fact, to the point where it felt calm, almost. Chris went straight to the desk and opened up the drawer, and then another secret compartment before withdrawing a bottle. Here you are if you want it still. Yeah, it feels a little late to be using it now. Still, he held it out for her, and she took it, with her hand reluctantly going for it. You can take the bottle. I have a couple others stashed away, he said with a nod. Just in case I need it again, she replied dryly. Yeah, go and try and get some sleep. I'm sure Ursula won't be happy to find out about any of this. Well, she never needs to know. I certainly am not going to tell her, and I doubt Sky will either. Computers? Kaylee merely nodded, wrapping up the bottle so that it wouldn't escape her grasp, and heading out. For a moment, Chris contemplated heading back to the engine room itself, but paused at his computer. There was sadly no blinking red light with saying that a message had arrived, and which made him frown. He was sure she would call. She promised she would, yet nothing. His heart felt a slight ache at that. Pull yourself together, man. Sometimes it takes a while for people to get things to say. Probably won't be good, but still, hold out fucking hope, man. Steadying himself, he headed back to work. Boredom had taken over Ursula, who'd spent a fair amount of the time sitting around various spots of the ship. When nothing was going on, she gave up and headed down the hallway towards the bridge. Computer. Yes, Captain. Update on the ship's status? I thought we were supposed to be headed through storms all day long. I'm sorry, but since you're not yet on duty, I can't make a full report to you on all things. There is an available abbreviated one if you want to hear that. Fine, give me that. Everything looks fine and dandy. No storms to report. Isn't that odd? She said to the computer. I don't think so. Why do you think so? The weather has greatly changed the past few years, making cargo transportation difficult at the easiest of times. Now it is close to impossible to travel across these seas and oceans without running into storms. This calmness is weird. If you say so, Captain. With a growing, disheartening feeling in her, Ursula approached the hatchway door to the bridge, this long hallway finally having come to an end. You don't think any of this is weird, computer? All I know is that my sensors say everything is A-OK. Grunting at the computer, she reaches for the handle to open the door and get into the bridge. The sight Ursula walked into made her heart sink. Red lights were flashing all over the place, and Sky was crumpled over the desk with a bit of drool coming out of his mouth. Bridge computer, report what's going on here. Good evening, Captain. There are no time for formalities. I'm sorry to hear that, but you will always have time to say hello. No, what happened to Sky? A rogue wave, the computer chirped happily. What? A wave hit the ship as he was sitting, and boop, his lights went out. The computer offered as an explanation, though Ursula wasn't sure of it. How long ago was this? A couple of hours ago. And you didn't call me or anyone else to tell that this had happened? Well, his vitals are stable, Captain, so... She quickly stepped over and checked his vitals for himself. There was a heartbeat, which was a relief, but there was still trouble with how pale he looked. Sky, can you hear me? What's going on? The words were soft, but she heard them, and it helped her relax. But her anger did not subside at the computer. Computer, why didn't you get me in touch with anyone? We were ordered not to do so. If blood could run cold, Ursula felt like her entire body had just frozen over. What? We were told to keep the boat moving. Anything happening to the crew happens, as long as the cargo arrives safely, Captain. End of Part 2 of Against an Angry Ocean. Thank you for listening.